Welcome to Powerless Penguins United Big Book Study. This week I'm pleased to introduce MAGS, who's kindly come along to continue with the Big Book Study. Over to you, MAGS.
Thank you so much, Laws, and good morning, everybody. Thank you to everybody that's doing service. My name is MAGS, and I'm an alcoholic, and drugs are part of my story. So I definitely have a seat in this place. I see a few people that I know. I see a lovely face there in the middle of my screen. Great to see you. And yeah, I've seen a couple of people that haven't been here for a number of weeks as well. So it's great to be together. Yeah, so we're in chapter 5, how it works. We did a little summary of this last week, didn't we? So some of the stuff that I say today might be a little bit out of context. I know my friend Derek in San Francisco, he was in touch with me during the week and was talking about the baby dogs. I know, like if you were here last week, listen to last week's recording, you'll know what I mean. We mentioned pigeons and cats and everything. Nothing to do with the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. For some reason I was on one. But anyway, that's just how I am. I just go with the flow. And that's the beauty of living a recovered life. Like genuinely, it is the beauty of living a recovered life where I can just go with the flow, for sure. Don't know why I want to share this, but I'm going to. Last night I was out in Belfast city centre. It was a big event in the city centre with lots of activities and everything going on for the general public. And I do some voluntary work with a charity here in Belfast, and they do fantastic work with homeless and those that are affected by addiction of all varieties. And we've got a huge team of volunteers that spend from 9 p.m. to 3 a.m. in the morning helping people when they're falling out of the bars, clubs and restaurants, and so those individuals that we work with every day who are on the street. And I stood back at one point and just looked around me and thought, how on earth have I got here? How on earth has a down and out, drunk, addict got to be here? This shouldn't be happening to me. And in that moment, the realization, the awakening that, wow, God truly and utterly is doing for you what you cannot do for yourself. I was not there last night for any other reason than I have had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps. That's what we're here for every day in the fellowships, to carry the message from the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous, the only place that you'll find the program of action, the only place that you'll find the program of recovery. I say it every week, and I don't make any apologies. If you think that I sound like a broken down record, because you can think whatever you like. I don't care what you think of me. And I mean that respectfully. I really and truly do. What you think of me has got nothing to do with me. And that's the change in my perception. That's a miracle for me, that is the way that I think now. And that change in perception is 100%. That's what a miracle is. That for me is a psychic change. That for me is a personality change. 100%. That has only been given to me because I've had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps and nothing else. All I did was the steps. And that's such a beautiful thing. And the reason why I suppose I'm emphasizing that this morning, because we're on page 59 that outlines the steps into page 60. It outlines the steps in the short form, as I call it. We've talked about the fact that chapter 5, how it works, last week is read out. It's probably the part of the book that is read out the most across the entire world. It must have been read a gazillion times. But how important the words are within the part of chapter 5 that is read out in meetings. Normally they only read page 58, 59 down to the middle of page 60, or just beyond the middle of the page on page 60, where they get to the third pertinent idea. And often that's in the meetings here in Belfast, that's all you hear of the big book of Alcoholics Anonymous. But people leave the meetings thinking that they know what Alcoholics Anonymous is because they keep hearing those couple of pages time after time after time after time. And, you know, for the 18 months that I sat around the rooms not doing anything, I thought I knew what Alcoholics Anonymous was, yet all I started to hear when the individual was reading chapter 5, how it works, or that tiny part of it, all I heard was wah, wah, wah. You know, there was nothing going in. There wasn't really anything going in. Or the person read it really fast because everybody knows that, you know, rarely have you seen a person feel who is filled, followed our path. Those who do not recover are those who and they read it so fast that it was like, whoa, slow down, babe. We're in no hurry here. What's that all about? But when you actually tune into the words of what's held within those spiritual pages, it brings alive something so much more. It really and truly does. And like I said last week, I say it every week, but, you know, in particular within this couple of pages that we're going to read, really and truly take that spiritual tool that you have right now and setting aside every single thing you think you know about this part of the book, about your recovery, about the 12 steps, about what's going to keep you recovered, so that you in this moment can have a new experience with God. And the new experience with the God of your own understanding. Not mine, not anybody else's in the room. Your own understanding. We don't get involved in any controversy with regards to what you believe God is or isn't. We're just here to share our experience about what it means to us to be part of this program of action and recovery that has been given to us in order for us to overcome our addiction, for it to be removed, like it says, and there is a solution. Page 17, the problem has been solved, the top paragraph. So last week we ended at the top of the page where we understand that, you know, we remember that we deal with alcohol, we deal with drugs that are cunning, so sly, baffling. They want us cut off from the life. It's so powerful, it's got more strength than any other substance on this planet. We understand at the top of the page, without help, it is too much for us. And there is no human help that can help us. We understand that from page 18, and there is a solution. The people that can't help us, the doctors, the psychiatrists, our wives, our partners, the doctors. You know, Dr. Silkworth, in the doctor's opinion, made clear that he had to say very beautifully, very humbly, we can't help you. But the people that have had a spiritual awakening as a result of the steps, who have recovered from that hopeless state of mind and body, are the people that can. Page 18, the ex-problem drinker, armed with the facts about themselves, is the person that can help you. Armed with the facts about themselves as to how they had the spiritual awakening as a result of the steps. That's the facts that you need to be aware of as to what a sponsor will help you with. The qualities of that sponsor being that the person's whole deportment shouts that he's a man with a real answer, that he's no holier than thou. There's no lectures to be endured. There's no fees to be paid. With my sponsees, my only purpose is to be helpful. That's it. To take your hand and place it in the hand of the God of your understanding, to keep showing up and turning the pages. That's all I got to do. My sponsor taught me that I just got to show up and we let the book do the work. A really simple approach to it that helped me understand that when I show up and turn the page, something starts to happen without me even realizing it. So without help, it is too much for us, but there is one capitalized, another word for God who has all power. We ended on this paragraph last week, and as I normally do, I say to you each week, sit with that one. Let that one filter through. My friend Young, who's here this morning, so good to see you, Young. We love the word percolate. Just let that all percolate through. There is one who has all power. Just let that drip right in. And that one is God. May you find him now. May you find him now. And may you find him now. Because the now is in this moment. And each moment is a moment that moves. But in this moment, I'm right here, right now. So that never changing, the changeless power, the limitless power, no matter what, may I find him now. Because in any given millisecond moment of the day, I can drop into the awareness of that power that is within me. And we know that from page 55 in We Agnostics. Deep down in every single man, woman and child is the great reality. It is only there that he may be found. In the last analysis, it is only there that he is found. And that was certainly the case with me this morning in my prayer meditation. It was only there in my last analysis that he may be found. Every single time. My God is not out in the external world. My God is deep within my heart. And I genuinely know that to be true because that's where I found him. And this book enabled me to access that power. The book is the tool that enables me to find the power inside me. Page 25. It tells us, the first 100 that wrote the book, they say that their creator, another word for God, if you choose it to be, has entered into their hearts in a way that is miraculous. Isn't that beautiful? And that's certainly where I was able to gain access to the power. As I did what was suggested in this book. I say to my sponsees all the time, if you do this work, if that really conditional word, if you do this work, it will work. If you don't, it won't. It really is that simple. We pointed that out last week, didn't we? Page 14 in Bill's story. Simple, but not easy. I did not find this program easy, but it is the easier, softer way. Genuinely, it is the easier, softer way to go through these pages and work the steps like the desperation of a drowning man, which I had no other choice than to do that in the end, Like it says on page 25, I was completely and utterly blotting out the consciousness of my intolerable situation for 18 months. And then I was brought to that place of pitiful and incomprehensible demoralization where I had no other option than to accept the spiritual help. And here we live to tell the tale. So may you find him now. May you set aside every single thing you think you know to have the new experience with God in this moment, whether you've been here for a long time, whether you're returning, whether you're just here to find out whether this place is for you or not. Because here's the thing, and we're starting on this paragraph today, half measures. I never liked a half measure of alcohol or anything else. Half measures availed us nothing. That's an important word. Like I've said time and time again, the people that wrote this book chose their words with absolute and utter laser precision. I don't think they even realized how precise they were. Or maybe they did, I don't know. But the miracle of this book is the fact that not one word of it has changed in nearly 90 years or whatever it is, the publication from 1934. Like not one word of it has changed in the 164 pages, yet it has the ability to change me. by giving me this access to this power. But the half measures availed us nothing. Zero, zilch, whatever another word for nothingness, I don't even know. But really, in the English language, it just means nothing. If you think that you can come in and do the hokey cokey approach like I talked about, you know, 1 foot in, 1 foot out, shake it all about, no, it's not going to work. Page 13 of Bill's story, it talks about the fact that, you know, he was separated from alcohol for the last time. On page 11, it talks about the fact that, you know, in his organized religion, he had adopted those parts of that organized religion which seemed convenient and not too difficult, and the rest of that organized religion he disregarded. The important point there in Bill's story is we can't do that with the program. We can't just adopt those points and those steps which seem convenient and not too difficult and disregard the rest. We really and truly can't do that. You know, if you're only hearing this part of the book 1 through 12 read out in the short form as it's presented, as we're going to go through today, you're not getting the steps in the long form as you should be with a sponsor. Okay, so you can't do this pick and mix approach to it. All right, I'll find out if I'm powerless over alcohol, but I'll go into that in a minute. But, you know, essentially, if you're in, you're in. If you're in, you're all in. If you're half in, you're half out. You may as well be out. Because it's not going to serve you any purpose, genuinely. And that might seem harsh. But if you're only coming to meetings every day and sitting listening to whatever, that's only one part of what you need to do. The unity part of the triangle, the left-hand side of the triangle, if you're looking down on it, is only one part. You know, the bottom of that triangle, and the unity is the 12 traditions by which we're guided as a fellowship. The base of that triangle, the foundation of that triangle is your own personal recovery, the 12 steps, your spiritual principles by which you're guided. And the other side of that triangle, the service, being of service to other people, that altruistic movement that we are part of. You know, those 3 sides of that triangle is being all in. The 36 spiritual principles by which we're guided. But the reality of it is, for your own foundation, for your own mind, what you've got to have is this psychic change, this alteration in our thinking, our transformation, and all of that might sound a bit woo, but don't be worried about it, because it's going to happen if you do the work. The reality of it is, here and now, what it says is, we stood at a turning point. Like, think about those words. Right now, if you've been coming to this book study from the beginning of the year, God love you. Listening to this every Saturday, but you know what I mean. If you've been coming to this, or even with your sponsor and you're at this point, and you might be even this morning actually standing at this turning point. But what does that mean? What does that actually mean? When you hear this chapter read out in the meetings, like, what does it mean to you? Set aside every single thing you think you know. What is the turning point that you're standing at right now with your recovery? Whether you're deep in your addiction, whether you started working with a sponsor, whether you're through the steps and started sponsoring, whether you've been around for a long, long time, whether you've relapsed and you're coming back, you stand at a turning point. What does that mean to you? The reality of what this means is, you can either stand and look out into the world, this third dimension of existence. You can look at all of the people around you that are disturbing you. You could look at all of the stuff that you haven't got. You've lost your job. You've lost your partner. You haven't got a car. There's no money in the bank. you haven't had a holiday, your family have been taken away, about to be taken away, you're on the brink of losing everything, you're on the brink of getting some stuff back, all of this external stuff. You can stand at that and look at it. Or you can turn right in. You can turn right in to where, in the last analysis, God may only be found to enable you to have a new experience with God. Because remember, we're about to move into step 3 after the pieces that we covered today. So you stand at this turning point. So you can choose to look out at the world and this physical world and everything that it's doing to you and the fact that you're not getting what you want, or you can turn right in. That's the point at which we stand. You can continue on the external, looking out at the world, blotting out the consciousness of your totally and utterly currently intolerable situation, or you can turn right in to where we know that God is and can be found. So what are you going to do? Are you going to continue to look out at the third dimension of existence? Or are you going to turn in and become part of this fourth dimension of existence? Be rocketed to the fourth dimension of existence. Like Bill talks about in his own, personal story. He talks about the fact, and we covered this last week, that, it's a simple program. It's not easy. We must turn all things into the Father of Light. It means the destruction of self-centeredness. And the moment these steps that we're going to go through, they may seem revolutionary, they may seem like drastic proposals, but the moment I fully accepted them, the effect was electric. That's what Bill talks about on page 14 of his own personal story. That's exactly what I felt when I decided I was going to turn in. Because the reality of it is, all of that third dimensional stuff, all of that external stuff, what is it? Because I ain't going to change the external world. What has to happen is that I need to change the internal. I have to have this psychic change as the result of the steps. I have to have this personality change as the result of the steps. I have to become awake to the blocks of the awareness of God's presence inside me. I'm not going to fix laws and make him love me. He either loves me or he doesn't, and I accept that he does or he doesn't. I know that he does. But that's just an example. Do you know what I mean? Laws loves everybody. I love everybody, really. That's how simple this is, and it might seem really, really complicated. So we stood at this turning point. Continue to think about that. Are you going to continue to look out on the world and all that's wrong? Are you going to tap right into that unsuspected inner resource that it talks about in the spiritual experience, page 567? Tap into that unsuspected inner resource. It's not unsuspected in me anymore because I know that it's there. I feel it, I hear it, I sense it, I see it in you. Tap into. Here's a prayer. Anywhere going forward where we ask is a prayer. We asked his protection and care with complete abandon. So we're standing at this turning point. We might be a little bit nervous. We might not know where we're going to go. We might not know what we're doing. We might not know what MAGS is talking about because she's a crazy woo-woo person here in Belfast. What is she actually talking about? Don't worry about that. Don't worry about me and what you think of me, but ask for his protection and care with complete abandon. Those words, laser precision, complete abandon. Like it says on the previous page, we've tried to hold on to our old ideas, but guess what? They didn't work. And the result was nil. Nil. Half measures availed us nothing. We had to let go. Absolutely. Do you see how the writers of the book emphasize and re-emphasize. They never let us forget the instructions, the masterly detail, the clear-cut directions that we need to follow. So they're telling us on one page, you need to let go absolutely, because your old ideas ain't working for you. And the old ideas that I had at 7:45 this morning won't work for me at 8:30 this morning. I've got to constantly let them go, let them go, let them go, let them go. Complete abandon. Complete, not just a little bit, not just a half. Interestingly to note that the word surrender is not mentioned in the 164 pages. I think I told you last week that I had a problem with the word surrender. You know, when I came into the rooms, people were saying, "Oh, you got to surrender. You've got to surrender. You've got to surrender to alcohol. You've got to surrender to the drugs." No, I don't. No. Because surrender to me, in my intellectual word, meant defeated. That I hadn't won the battle. And my ego was stronger. It didn't want to surrender. Surrender to me was holding up a little white flag and saying, "I'm beat." That wasn't good for a person like me. I didn't like it. I didn't like the word, "Oh, you've got to accept it. You've got to accept it. You've got to accept that you're one of us." I couldn't accept it. Acceptance to me was not the answer. I didn't know how to accept it. But as I was taken through the 164 pages and this personality change took place, and I was able to get rid of all of the blocks to the awareness of God's presence in me through the process of what we do as we go through the steps with our sponsor, something changed where I now understand what all of this means. I now am able to live forwards and look backwards and say, "Oh, now I know what my sponsor meant by let go, absolutely. Because I'm practicing it every day in my life. Now I know what it means with complete and utter abandon. Now I know because I'd had to go through this to come out the other side of it. For 18 months I sat looking at you, giving you an opinion, judging you on everything that you were doing, rather than looking at what you were pointing me towards, which was the solution to all of my problems. So at this point, we're asking this prayer, we're asking for his protection and care with complete abandon. We've got something else assisting us now. We're not by ourselves. Because remember, I say this all the time, we're all sitting in a prayer we once asked for. Whether you like it or not, we are. Whether you know it or not, you are. Every single one of us, if you truly think about that deep down within you, you're all sitting in a prayer that you once asked for. I'm currently sitting in a prayer I once asked for, and I'm not really liking it. But I'm having to do what I do to come through it all, you know. And it's a very beautiful thing to be able to do that. So we're in this prayer. Something else is working in and through us. Here are the steps we took, which are suggested as a program of recovery. I'm not going to get into any windy arguments with regards to this. They are simply outlining here in the short form, the 12 steps that they did, that they took, that they practiced, which they completed in full, 1 through 12. All of them. In that order. That's why they're set out in the pages as they are, which are suggested as a program of recovery. Obviously, they're writing this as a suggestion. They tell us, they're so honest, the people that wrote this book. In the last paragraph on the forward to the second edition, they are so humble and they say that, you know, we hold no monopoly on recovery. We hold no monopoly on recovery. There are other options available out there, but be honest with yourself, they haven't worked. I can tell you through bitter experience, all of the options outside of this book didn't work. But when I did this, it worked. And yes, they are suggested. Of course they are suggested. But the reality of it is, if you're going to make the decision to go through this, you're all in. So you can't pick and choose some of the things that have been suggested or have not been suggested. What they're setting out here is, if you're going to do this, you do this and nothing else. It's not suggested for you to pick and choose. It's suggested that you do all 12. People can misconstrue that word and make it what they want it to be, rather than what they're actually stating within this program. It's so incredibly important to understand that. Well, they're only suggestions. Yeah, well, if you don't do them, there's some very colourful language that I could use, but I'm not going to. If you don't do them, good luck with that, is the nice way to say it. I heard someone in a meeting a few years ago say that actually, the steps should now be the word that should go in front of them is step 1. We actually admitted we were powerless over alcohol, that our lives had become unmanageable. Step 2, we actually came to believe that a power greater than ourselves could restore us to sanity. Step 3, we actually made a decision to turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. So you could put actually in front of it. Have you actually done this? Because if you're sitting here thinking this isn't working for me, you might just want to ask yourself that question. Have I actually done all of these steps? Have I actually had a spiritual awakening as the result of the steps? Because that's what needs to happen. So we've gone through step 1, we admitted, we get the idea, and we were powerless over alcohol, physically, mentally. And as a result of that our lives had become unmanageable as a result of our powerlessness. We've been through that step 1 process, right the way through from the front cover page to 145. Have you actually done that? Came to believe that a power greater than ourselves that could restore us to sanity, step 2. We come to believe that step in the short form doesn't say you must believe in God now. Through this process, you gain access to and you come to believe in this power greater than yourself. I don't know when I came to believe that, but now I know I do. Doesn't matter when you come to believe, whether it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, it doesn't matter. I'm not getting into that windy argument. But if you go through this process, you will 100% cast iron guarantee gain access to this power. You will come to believe. Step 3, made a decision. We'll talk about that because that word is so incredibly important. To turn our will and our lives. People forget that word and. Turn our will and our lives over to the care of God as we understood him. As I understand him. I don't need to know how you understand him. How I understand the God of my conception, the God of my idea. I'm sitting in the prayer I once asked for. I now know what it means to experience turning my life over. I thought I knew. And then recently I've had to set aside every single thing I think I know to truly and utterly know that my life is God's. And the trust that comes with that is phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal. Step 4, made a searching and fearless, not fearful, made a searching and fearless moral inventory of ourselves. Don't worry if you don't know what all of this means. These are just a summary of the steps. The detail is set out in the long form in the 164 pages. If you think about the reality of it is, step 1, the long form, front cover page to page 45. Step 2, page 45 right up to page 57. Step 3 begins on page 60, right the way through, blah, blah, blah. So realistically, if you're only reading these in the short form, you're not really getting the detail. Step 5, really important, the order in which this is written, admitted to God, to ourselves, and to another human being the exact nature of our wrongs. Don't be afraid of step 5. You're going in to admit to God. That's the power. And to yourself. You're going to be shown how to do that. Step 6, we're entirely ready to have God remove all these defects of character, which we will have identified through 4 and 5. Step 7, humbly asked him to remove our shortcomings. Beautiful. The things we should have done and didn't. That's our shortcomings. Step 8, made a list of all persons we had harmed and became willing to make amends to them all. Don't be put off by step 8. Don't be put off by step 9. Your sponsor will very, very, very beautifully and gently take you through all of these directions. There is nothing to be afraid of. Fearless. Remember, you've asked his protection and care with complete abandon. There's something else at work right now. You're not doing this by yourself. And you also have a guide that's taking you by the hand and placing it in the hands of the God of your own understanding. Step 9, make direct amends to such people wherever possible, except when to do so would injure them or others. Don't get bogged down in the detail of the short form. Your sponsor will help you. Step 10. 10, 11 and 12, the most beautiful, beautiful daily reprieve steps that I just have the most beautiful devotion to. And it is work. It's not easy and all of that. But what this brings is just this deeper and deeper and deeper relationship with this power that is greater than we. Step 10, continued to take personal inventory. And when we were wrong, promptly admitted it. I'm emphasizing some of these words because they're really important, and when we go through them in the long form, you're going to get to understand what they actually mean. Step 11 in the short form is so beautifully written. Sought through prayer and, there's that word again, and meditation to improve our conscious contact with God as we understood him. Praying only for knowledge of his will for us and the power to carry that out. The power to carry it out. I'm calling on that power every second of the day, more than ever before, and it's a beautiful, beautiful thing. That step 11 practice is life-changing, transformative, and again, don't think I'm talking woo-woo. It will all make sense when you go through this process with the sponsor. And step 12, having had a spiritual awakening, here's the thing, as the result of the steps, we tried to carry this message. This message being the message from the Big Book of Alcoholics Anonymous. We tried to carry this message. Big book. That's it. To their alcoholics and to practice these principles in all of our affairs. Remember page 19, the elimination of our drinking was but the beginning. The demonstration of all of these principles was in our homes, occupations and affairs. You know, it's our entire life. This program solves all my problems. And you might be sitting here thinking, oh my God, Mags is going off on one. What is she talking about? You might be this person that's saying, many of us exclaim, what an order. I can't go through with it. That was me. I can't go through with this. But yes, you can. I love how the people that wrote the book just give us that little bit of positivity, you know, on page 44, We Agnostics, when they tell us to cheer up. You know, when we're sitting in the doldrums thinking, oh my God, this isn't going to work for me. No, they know how we feel. They tell us that several times through We Agnostics, but they keep on giving us the encouragement. They're so convinced by this solution that they want us to have it. So do not be discouraged. Please don't be discouraged. Please don't be put off by what I'm saying. Please don't be put off by what anybody is in this room is going to share after this meeting. Listen to whether these people, like it says in the CA preamble, do these people have a solution for me? Not would I have partied with these people. Do these people have a solution? Because here's the thing. No one among us has been able to maintain anything like perfect adherence to these principles. Absolutely and utterly not. And here's an important point. Principles. If you look in the Big Book dictionary from 1934, it will tell you the word principles means law. Okay? So no one among us has been able to maintain the perfect adherence to these laws, to these principles, these spiritual principles. And this is where we understand some of the points around, you know, these are suggestions. But if these are spiritual principles, these are spiritual laws, if I go outside and decide to steal a car, I'm breaking the law. If I break the law, I get in trouble. I have consequences then to pay. The reality of it is within this program of action that if I do not follow the spiritual principles, the spiritual laws, I'll get in trouble. I'll end up straight back at step 1. I'll end up powerless over alcohol and my life will be unmanageable. Therefore, these spiritual principles need to be followed by the letter of the law. The spiritual law. That's what they're set out for. And yes, we are not saints. Absolutely and utterly not. We are not saints. The point is that we are willing. Remember those completely and utterly indispensable, essential requirements that are set out within the spiritual experience at the back of the book. The willingness, the honesty, the open-mindedness, every single day that we are willing to grow along spiritual lines. This willingness continues for the rest of our lifetime, as does the honesty, as does the open-mindedness. You know, I hear people in the rooms use that line, we are not saints, as a get-out clause for their bad and inappropriate selfish behaviour. You know, I was having an argument with my boyfriend today. He's a bit of an idiot, you know, blah, 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 blah. But the reality of it is I'm not a saint. So they're using that line as a get-out-of-jail card to say, but it's okay for me to continue with that behaviour with him because I'm not a saint. That's not the purpose of that line. That is not the purpose of what they are saying in this book. The important part is, yes, we are not saints, but the point is, emphasizing, laser precision. The point is that we always maintain that willingness to grow along the spiritual lines. The principles, the laws we have set down are guides to progress. We claim spiritual progress rather than spiritual perfection. Every single moment of the day we're making progress, spiritual progress, every single day. I say to sponsees all the time, and this is how my life is. What was good enough for yesterday wasn't good enough for today. What's good enough for today is not going to get me through tomorrow. I'm always making progress. My step 10, 11 and 12, the spiritual principles by which I'm guided through my daily reprieve help me continue to make progress every single day. I'm always moving forward in this journey to building and strengthening and gaining access all the time to the awareness of God inside me, who guides me, who directs me, who gives me every single thing I need, the thing that has all power. May you find him now. This paragraph is taken out of context in the rooms and we're doing the newcomer a disservice. It's my responsibility to give them the truth about what this part of the book is saying. Our description of the alcoholic, step 1. Our description of the alcoholic all the way through step 1. The chapter to the agnostic. Our personal adventures, not the stories of every Tom, Dick and Harry sitting in the room. Our personal adventures are those that are set out at the back of the book, the 42 personal stories. So step 1, the chapter to the agnostics and our personal stories, before and after, make clear 3 pertinent, important, paramount, more important things than anything else. 3 pertinent ideas. And you might want to just turn these into a little diagnostic question, you know. That we were alcoholic and could not manage our own lives. Ask yourself that. Have you come to understand that you're alcoholic and could not manage your own life? Are you that alcoholic that is set out on page 21? Are you that person, that addict, who at some point in your drinking and using career, page 21, has lost all control? Are you that? And can you not manage your own life? Page 45. That lack of power is your dilemma. B, that probably no human power could have relieved you of your alcoholism. Page 34, the utter inability to leave the substances, the alcohol alone. The absolute and utter inability to leave it alone, no matter how much you desire, urge, necessity, or wish. Because if you've got the utter inability to leave it alone, no matter the desire, the urge, the necessity, or the wish, then get honest with yourself. There's no human power that can and will relieve your alcoholism. There's no human power. And pertinent idea C, that God could and will if he were so sought. There's that really conditional word, that tiny little word. If you do the work, it works. If you don't, it won't. God could and will if he were sought. Third pertinent idea, that brings us to the end of the very detailed discussion that started at the bottom of page 20. We've been in this detailed discussion for a period of time. It starts moderate drinkers have little trouble in giving up liquor entirely. If they have good reason for it, they can take it or leave it alone. From page 20 up to the third pertinent idea on page 60, we've been in this really detailed discussion. Plus the pages that we done before, front cover page all the way through, the doctor's opinion, the forwards, the preface, the doctor's opinion, Bill's story, there is a solution, da-da-da-da-da. We've been in this very, very detailed discussion. And now we're about to move into step 3. We're about to move into making that decision. The next line, being convinced. Being convinced of what? Being convinced means being moved by the evidence. Being moved by what evidence? Being moved by the evidence from the front cover page right the way through to the pertinent idea C. Are you convinced? Are you moved by the evidence that you need something else in your life and that you need to continue on with the rest of these steps? Percolate that over the next week. Set aside every single thing you think you know to have a new experience with God. And I hope that the last couple of weeks has shed some new light onto chapter 5, how it works. Because this is really and truly how it works. So I'll leave it at that. Thank you for listening.